Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Raymore City Council regular meeting for Monday, September the 27th, 2021. I will call the meeting to order and ask for a roll call, please.
Councilmember Abdelgawad.
Here.
Councilmember Barber.
Present.
Councilmember Berenson.
Present.
Councilmember Burke.
Present.
Councilmember Circo.
Present.
Councilmember Holman. Councilmember Townsend.
Present.
Councilmember Wills Scherzer.
Present.
Mayor Turnbow.
Present. We have a quorum. Would you all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'd like to remind all my council members up here tonight that we will be doing roll call votes on everything with Ms. Abdelgawad zooming in for the meeting tonight. We have no presentations or awards nor personal appearances tonight, so I'll turn to staff reports. Mr. Icky.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to ask Mr. Krass to give a report for Public Works.
Thank you, Mr. Icky, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. In addition to my written report, just wanted to update the council on Google's latest efforts to be installing the vaults throughout the city. They are going to be starting this week in the kind of the northeast quadrant of the city. So we're aware they started placing door hangers today, and we anticipate work starting later this week. And that concludes my staff report. I am available for any questions.
Anyone have any questions? Yes, Mr. Burke.
Thank you. Mr. Krass, I was curious, did they mention whether the vaults would make it easier for them to just hook up more customers, or would it also improve the existing customers' service?
It's my understanding they're doing this for future hookups.
Thank you. That's what I was afraid you were going to say.
Yeah, Mr. Berenson.
Will they be expanding to other customers that they're currently not servicing, like me and my neighbors?
We have not heard anything from them regarding expanding their current service areas.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I would like to thank staff, though, because I know the door hangers were your guys' ideas, and I think that's a great idea to inform the people in the neighborhood of the oncoming work. So I appreciate you guys getting Google to do that. If there's nothing further, I'll move on to another item. Mr. Icky.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to call or ask Mr. Mustine to give a report for Parks and Recreation.
Thank you, Mr. Icky, Mayor, members of the council. First of all, I wanted to say thank you for the opportunity. Last week, I was able to take my superintendent, Steve Rulo, and my athletic coordinator, Todd Brennan, to Nashville to the National Recreation and Parks Association annual conference. So that is the reason why you didn't get a written report. I wasn't here to submit one. So it's a great conference. Always the sessions are fantastic, but the exhibit hall is one of the best that I've ever been to. It's where we see all the brand new playgrounds and the new equipment and all of those things that, you know, they want to take our money on. And so we're always excited to see those. So just wanted to say thank you to the council for promoting higher education for us and continued education. Also on my report, on my verbal report tonight, is I wanted to highlight our athletic numbers. It's the fall season, so it's kind of big for us athletically in terms of we have baseball and softball, soccer, flag football, and youth volleyball all happening right now. As you guys know, we're part of the South Metro Sports Group, which essentially is Raymore, Belton, Harrisonville, Pleasant Hill, Grandview, and Peculiar. So we share games in those divisions in which we need to share games, and ideally you want to stay in-house as much as you can. But I'm pretty proud of my staff and my team and honestly our city. In every sport, we have more registrations than any other city in all the South Metro. And total, through all the sports, we're over 135 more participants cumulatively than all the other cities. So Raymore is nailing it right now. We're really hitting, and we're pretty proud of our people for that. Last thing I'd like to highlight is this week at Park Board, a couple things that ultimately affect other commissions is the Park Board will review the art in the park locations tomorrow at their Park Board meeting, and ultimately that will move forward to the Arts Commission, and also the site plan for West Hawk Ridge Park improvements will ultimately move to planning and zoning. And that is my report. Happy to answer any questions tonight.
I thought you might be out of town, but how'd the fishing derby go?
Fishing derby, fish didn't bite near as well this year, and I think it's just because it's been so hot.
Yeah.
But we had good participation. We just didn't have a whole lot of fish to brag about.
With regard to your football program, I want to commend your staff for the selection of coaches. My grandson, who's 5 years old, is on flag football. They're very patient with him, and he's one that can test your patience. So they do a great job with him. They really
We'll pass
do.
that along.
They're great coaches. Anybody else have anything?
All right.
Thank you, Nathan.
Thank you.
Mr. Icky.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to call on Ms. Harmer for a report from the Communications Department.
Thank you, Mr. Icky. Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. First, I'd just like to point out the new art that we have displayed in the chambers here behind me. These are all pieces of original art from the members of the Tri-County Art League, so please take a look on your way out. They'll be displayed through October here. The fall issue of the review finally got to mailboxes 2 weeks ago. Hopefully you all received yours. We have started to get some donor plaque for the honor wall applications in because I put a big donor wall form in the review. So just to let you know what they look like, here are a couple different ones. So that information is in the review if anyone is interested in submitting one. And we're very thankful for everyone that has donated to the playground, to the Hawks Nest Inclusive Playground. Getting ready to work on another round of thank yous, so you'll have those on your desks very soon.
Great.
Also, as we all know, earlier this summer, the Arts Commission lost our Arts Commissioner, Pam Simpson. She passed away in July, and the Arts Commission members want to do something special for her, so we actually commissioned a painting to be done on site at the Summer Scene Arts and Music Festival in July at TB Anna Station. That painting is hanging outside this back door here, and it will be on display until about Thanksgiving, when the family will take it home. They really want to have it, so for a while we're excited to have it here for everyone to see, but it's just something to remember Pam by. She was a valued member of the commission.
She was.
And that is my report.
Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Icky, anything else?
Thank you, sir. I'd like to ask Mr. Fearborn to give a report about upcoming meetings.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to steal this piece of paper. Just a reminder, next Monday, October 4th, at the work session, we'll be visiting the budget, as we always do. There will be a presentation from Mesa, which is the group that had the rezoning go through for just south of Lucy Webb at what I would call the northernmost point of the pork chop that the council approved last week. They will be coming before you asking for a LIHTC application. We will be bringing a number of, it has been quite a while since we brought you the comprehensive code revisions. There have been some changes that are necessary, some updates, changes in the law. We'll be bringing those to you, as well as kind of a very necessary new personnel policy within the administrative policy manual. Remember, there are a number of sections to that, but the council by code approves the personnel policies associated with that. And as one of the code changes we're going to be bringing to you involves the courts, and there is a new court case reporting system that is very comprehensive that we will be putting into place by order of the Circuit Court on December 1, and we're going to be giving you an overview of what that actually means. That concludes my report. Oh, one last item. Very important item. Through the efforts over the last week of Chief Zimmerman and Ryan Murdoch, we have once again been reinstated with the county, so our first responders actually get active COVID addresses. That concludes my report, Mr. Icky.
And there was considerable coordination between the governor's office, the chief, and the director of the Department of Public Safety, I understand. So
That is correct,
I want
sir.
to thank the chief for her efforts. Mr. Icky, anything else?
Nothing further, sir.
Thank you, sir. We have no committee reports, so I'll move on to the consent agenda with only one item on the consent agenda tonight, which is the city council minutes for September the 13th. I would entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend.
move that we approve the consent agenda item A, City Council minutes for September the 13th, 2021.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second? Mr. Barber?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Barber. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Oh, wait, got to do a roll call. Sorry, guys. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Abdelgawad,
Yes.
Councilmember Barber,
Yes.
Councilmember Berenson,
Yes.
Councilmember Burke,
Yes.
Councilmember Circo,
Yes.
Councilmember Holman, absent, sorry, Councilmember Townsend,
Yes.
and Councilmember Wills Scherzer.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously, 7-0. Now we'll move on to unfinished business. Could I please have the first reading of, or excuse me, the second reading of Bill 3650 by title only?
The second reading of Bill 3650 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, amending the zoning map from C2 General Commercial District to PUD Planned Unit Development District, an 8-acre tract of land located south of Lucy Webb Road, west of Dean Avenue, in Raymore, Cass County, Missouri.
Thank you. If there's no further discussion, I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend.
I move that we approve the second reading of Bill 3650, rezoning Ridgeway Estates.
Thank you. Is there a second? Mr. Barber.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, sir. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the second reading of Bill 3650. Any further discussion? Hearing none, could I have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Abdelgawad,
Yes.
Councilmember Barber,
Yes.
Councilmember Berenson,
Yes.
Councilmember Burke,
Yes.
Councilmember Circo,
Yes.
Councilmember Holman, Councilmember Townsend,
Yes.
and Councilmember Wills Scherzer.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously, 7-0. Could I please have the second reading of Bill 3651 by title only?
The second reading of Bill 3651 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, authorizing the city manager to take all necessary steps required to terminate and remove as encumbrance on the public record the memorandum of understanding for Parkside subdivision as entered into between City and Parkside LLC.
Thank you. If there's no further discussion, I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend.
I move that we approve Bill 3651, termination of memorandum of understanding with Parkside LLC.
Thank you. Is there a second? Mr. Barber.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, sir. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the second reading of Bill 3651. Any further discussion? Hearing none, could I have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Abdelgawad,
Yes.
Councilmember Barber,
Yes.
Councilmember Berenson,
Yes.
Councilmember Burke,
Yes.
Councilmember Circo,
Yes.
Councilmember Townsend,
Yes.
Councilmember Wills Scherzer.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously, 7-0. Could I please have the second reading of Bill 3652 by title only?
The second reading of Bill 3652 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, authorizing the city manager to enter into a memorandum of understanding for the Parkside subdivision.
Thank you. If there's no further discussion, I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend.
move that we approve Bill 3652, memorandum of understanding Triangle 2 LLC and Triangle 4 LLC, Parkside subdivision.
Thank you. Is there a second? Mr. Barber.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, sir. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the second reading of Bill 3652. Any further discussion? Hearing none, could I have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Abdelgawad,
Yes.
Councilmember Barber,
Yes.
Councilmember Berenson,
Yes.
Councilmember Burke,
Yes.
Councilmember Circo,
Yes.
Councilmember Holman, Councilmember Townsend,
Yes.
and Councilmember Will Scherzer.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously, 7-0. Could I please have the second reading of Bill 3653 by title only?
The second reading of Bill 3653 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, authorizing the city manager to notify Parkside LLC of breach and to take all necessary steps required to either satisfy any reimbursement requirements and/or terminate the reimbursement agreement entered into between the city and Parkside LLC.
If there's no further discussion, I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend.
move that we approve the second reading of Bill 3653, termination of Sunset Lane 163rd Street Extension Design Reimbursement Agreement.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second? Mr. Barber.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, sir. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the second reading of Bill 3653. Any further discussion? Hearing none, could I have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Abdelgawad,
Yes.
Councilmember Barber,
Yes.
Councilmember Berenson,
Yes.
Councilmember Burke,
Yes.
Councilmember Circo,
Yes.
Councilmember Holman, Councilmember Townsend,
Yes.
and Councilmember Wills Scherzer.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously, 7-0. And the last item under old businesses, could I please have the second reading of Bill 3654 by title only?
The second reading of Bill 3654 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, authorizing the city manager to enter into a street design reimbursement agreement with Triangle 2 LLC and Triangle 4 LLC to design a portion of the extension of Sunset Lane.
Thank you. If there's no further discussion, I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend.
move that we approve second reading of Bill 3654, reimbursement agreement Triangle 2 LLC and Triangle 4 LLC, Sunset Lane 163rd Street Design.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second? Mr. Barber.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, sir. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the second reading of Bill 3654. Any further discussion? Hearing none, please have the roll call.
Councilmember Abdelgawad,
Yes.
Councilmember Barber,
Yes.
Councilmember Berenson,
Yes.
Councilmember Burke,
Yes.
Councilmember Circo,
Yes.
Councilmember Holman, Councilmember Townsend,
Yes.
and Councilmember Will Scherzer.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0. Now move on to new business. Could I please have the first reading of Bill 3655 by title only?
The first reading of Bill 3655 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, amending the zoning map from R1 Single Family Residential District to R1.5 Single Family Residential District, a 46.26 acre tract of land located west of the existing Madison Valley subdivision in Raymore, Cass County, Missouri.
Thank you. This item requires a public hearing. I will open the public hearing at this time and ask for a staff report.
Thank you, sir. I'd like Mr. Carteret to give that staff report.
Thank you, sir. Bill 3655 proposes the reclassification of approximately 46 acres of land, which is located to the west of the existing Madison Valley subdivision. And the request is to reclassify from R1, which is our single-family district, to the R1.5, also a single-family district. The applicant is Tony Ward with Blue Springs Safety Storage South LLC, which is the property owner of this 46 acres. Looking at surrounding zoning, to the north of this parcel is the undeveloped part of Madison Creek, which is zoned R1. To the east, the existing Madison Valley zoned R1P, which is our planned residential district. South is R1 and the professional office district with Compass Health. And to the west is R1 and PR, which is Hawk Ridge Park. The future land use map for this property does designate this 46 acres as low-density residential. I clarify that low-density residential is 1 to 4 units per acre. So zoning districts that would be within that classification is both the R1 and the R15. They both are compliant with our land use plan. The reclassification zoning requires a public hearing advertised for this evening. Enter into the record the notices that were mailed to adjoining property owners within 185 feet, the notice of publication in the Journal, our Unified Development Code, the application that was submitted, our growth management plan, the staff report, and a lot size analysis that was distributed at the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting by the applicant. Regarding previous planning actions, Back in 2013, city approved rezoning 65 of the 75 lots in the existing Madison Valley subdivision from R1 to R1P, which is our planned district. What that did was it reduced the side yard setback from our standard 10 feet down to a 10% of the lot width. So 65 of the lots in Madison Valley already have a reduced side yard setback requirement. We did hold, there are actually 2 good neighbor meetings and on this application, and the comments, the questions, and responses from the applicant are included in your packet. The existing zoning for this undeveloped area was approved back in 2001, and then it was in 2008 when we adopted the Unified Development Code that we created the R1.5 zoning district. To date, no properties are currently zoned the R1.5. This is the first request. The purpose why the city established the R1.5 was, again, to accommodate detached single-family development, but slightly smaller lot sizes than what we see within the R1 single-family district. So smaller lot sizes, a little bit higher density. The uses between the R1 and the R1.5 are the same. The difference is the development standards. So the R1.5 has a smaller minimum lot size, reduced lot width, so instead of 70 feet, 60-foot wide lots are allowed. And then the side yard setback reduced from 10 feet to 7.5 feet along the side property lines. And then the building coverage is actually expanded. The intent there is we have a little bit smaller lot, but if you want the larger home, you would have more building coverage of the lot. So that's why the building coverage is increased in the R1.5. I provided a table in your packet that outlines the subdivisions that have come forward with lot sizes, lot width smaller than the R1. And what's not discussed here, what's really important is we haven't had a R1 development come into the city since 2006. It goes that far back. So every new subdivision that's come in since that time frame has come in under the PUD or come in under the R1P, where they've been reducing lot sizes, lot widths. And that's what this table is really showing you, all the different subdivisions and what the minimum lot sizes are. And I don't like to get fixated on the minimum lot size because that's what it is. It doesn't mean every lot is 60 foot wide and 6,500 square foot. That's the minimum. And I'll talk about that briefly under staff comments. The engineering division did indicate that adequate public facilities are available for this rezoning. The Planning Commission submitted proposed findings of fact on this particular request. And it was at their September 7th meeting that the commission did vote 5-2 to accept the staff proposed findings and forward this request for reclassification of zoning with a recommendation of approval. In the packet, I didn't include the minutes. There was quite a bit of discussion at Planning Commission on the request for the rezoning. And I'll note that a representative for the applicant, Brian Ron, is here this evening. He presented at the Planning Commission meeting as well as their attorney to present for the applicant. That one concludes staff report.
All right, any questions of staff before we move on to the applicant? If not, I invite the applicant to step forward. State your name and address for the record.
Brian Ron. Thank you, Mayor, members of council, for your time this evening. Appreciate your consideration of our project. As staff mentioned, we've been looking at this project and how to make it work, and we've worked through a lot of the various issues that have come up. As mentioned, the zoning there, the 1.5 has been out there, but hasn't been used. There's quite a few neighborhoods that have gone different routes, the PUD, the R1P, but it really seemed to be that this is what 1.5 was created for. So, together with the ordinances that are in place for buffers between existing neighborhoods, we've taken those considerations into account. As you'll see from your packet, some of the outlying lots, primarily meet most of the requirements and criteria of R1, so there's a transition. Now, as you get towards sunset, definitely the lots do get a little smaller. All right, most of the lots, still even exceed the R1.5. We've worked with city, to come up with the best possible project that was viable for this piece of ground. This particular property has been, there's been several attempts to develop it, that have been unsuccessful. So now we've come to you with, what we feel is a successful way to make this project work, and appreciate your consideration.
Thank you, sir. Anything else from staff?
No, sir.
Okay, any questions of staff or the applicant at this time? Mr. Berenson.
My question's probably for staff, but is there any advantage to the city changing this from R1 to R1.5? Does this do anything for the city? I read some stuff in here that, it does increase the number of homes, obviously, and it does, contribute to growth of the city. But aside from that, is there anything that I'm missing? Is there anything else that this provides for the city?
The way staff looks at it is, it's still a single-family detached subdivision. That's consistent with what development that we've seen within recent times. We created this district for a purpose. It provides a lot that's a little bit smaller, so the cost of developing or purchasing a home on that property is going to be less. You're purchasing a smaller lot size. So it's one of the ways that when we looked at the code, we felt trying to provide diversity of housing. We do have R1 lots within the city, and we have a lot of PUD and R1P lots. This particular subdivision, we felt looking at the existing Madison Valley, it does have, although the lots are the size that we're looking at, it does have similar development standards as far as separation between the homes. The other things that we see in the R15. We just felt this is good infill development of this property, and the zoning was consistent. It's still R1, it's still single family detached. And so that's why we came forward with the recommendation to the Planning Commission, who did agree with that.
Appreciate that. And I saw, this may be for the applicant, I saw the minimum lot size, I believe it's 6,500. That's the smallest lot size.
I believe so, under the 1.5.
How many lots are the average was 8,200 and change, I believe. How many lots are under that 7,000 number?
I actually don't have the number for under the 7,000. That's something that I could work up for you with what I brought this evening, but I actually do not have that. I don't know if you have that information.
I'm kind of getting ahead. That's kind of later on in the meeting anyway, so I appreciate that.
And I'd also like to mention, I didn't mention earlier, so why as the applicant are we looking at 1.5? Well, obviously, when we looked at this piece of property to have a successful project and previous projects being unsuccessful, and there's a lot of buffer land in this project with the stream buffer and that type of thing, but ultimately, we did a lot of the homes in the existing phase, of Madison Valley. So when that developer was unable to finish that, we went in and we built a lot of those homes, and they're nice homes. It's a nice neighborhood. All right. Unfortunately, a lot of things have skyrocketed across the board. Development costs, new home costs, materials, labor across the board. So whereas a $250,000 home used to be a nice home in the previous phase of Madison Valley, now it's 3. And when we go to smaller lots, then it becomes 4. All right, and it becomes a difficult situation, both as the developer to make it work, but also to offer that product that families can afford in the city of Raymore. 400 seems to be becoming the new norm, and a lot of families can only afford 3. And that's why we're looking at some of the alternatives that are out there to still maintain homes that families can afford.
And if I could have one follow-up question to city staff, I saw that the planning and zoning had some no votes on this, and in speaking with another council member, I didn't see. Did they voice any concerns on why they voted no?
At the end of the meeting, after the vote was taken, the chair called on the commissioners who did not support the motion to approve. I believe Commissioner Pfizer in the minutes was the only one that spoke to her explanation as why she voted against it. That was reflected in the minutes. I could read that if you'd like, or, okay.
Yeah, the chair elected not to comment, and Commissioner Pfizer commented that she's still concerned about the smaller lots.
I missed that in there. I appreciate it.
You have something to add?
Yes, I'm Robin Martinez. I'm an attorney with Martinez, Tobin, and Redmond. We're counsel for the developer. I wanted to point out just about the issue of the lot sizes, I think, and add something to that. I unfortunately don't have a breakout of each individual lot and what they run, but on an average, the average lot size is about 8,269 square feet in the proposed development. Now, the minimum is 6,500 for the R1.5. The threshold for R1 is just over that 8,200. It's about 8,400 square feet. So we're really on an average basis across the entire development. It's not that far off, but as Mr. Ron indicated, given the setbacks that were required for the stream buffer, plus the additional buffers that were built into the overall site plan to separate this development from the additional one at the south, necessitated from a financial feasibility standpoint just a somewhat of a shrinking overall of the average lot size.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Anything else? If there's nothing else, the public hearing is open at this time. I'd entertain anyone from the public that wish to address the council on this topic. Please step forward, state your name and address for the record. Try to keep your comments to 5 minutes or less.
My name is Julie Hansen. I live at 414 North Park Drive. All my neighbors back here made me come first. And I just want you to know that there are very few of my neighbors here, and I asked people as I saw them on the street today why they weren't coming tonight. And they feel like that they've been ignored by the Planning and Zoning Commission. We have stated our concerns of this development, and I just really feel like I'd like the commission to listen to what I'm saying. I feel like there were concerns from the commission members of the Planning and Zoning that were, you asked the question that, why did they feel that way? Because I think they didn't feel good about it. And I would also say that, the developer is saying that they would like to see, affordable homes, but we all know that Creekmore is having no problem selling their big lots, or their lots with their bigger homes at very large prices. So the idea that they can't make this work with anything but these smaller lots is not holding true for me. I wonder how many of you have driven. Gave the same speech, the Planning and Zoning. I wonder how many of you have driven down North Park Drive, our little dead-end street. It's probably, without a doubt, the most lovely, idyllic street in all of Raymore. I think that the lots are nearly half an acre, and we have beautiful mature trees and 20 homes on those lots. We have no street lights, where we pay for our own electricity to light our street with our little pole lamps in each one of our yards. I have always known that land, I've lived there for 5 years now. I picked that house mainly because it was on a quiet street. That house is a lovely house, but I feel that if this goes through as planned, we are going to, I will see my home devalued. And I know everyone says, well, that usually doesn't happen. But you take my home that is now valued over $400,000 and you add 180 cars going up and down my street, and it will devalue my home. I am asking the council to do something responsible here. I've always known that the land would be developed up there. It's not my land. I have no illusions that I can control what happens on that land, other than I think it should be done responsibly. While I would prefer that it not be rezoned to 1.5 and just stay as R1, my biggest concern is that our street and our homes that have been there for more than 30 years are going to be impacted by this. My beautiful street will no doubt become a thoroughfare for hundreds of cars. There are 89 homes that are proposed in Phase 1 and Phase 2, and I wished I'd brought the statistics that you asked for, because I did go and count exactly how many lots there would be that would be the smaller lot. There are, the majority of them will be the smaller lot. So there are 89 homes in Phase 1 and Phase 2 that will take the path of least resistance down North Park Drive. What is the path of least resistance, you say? Well, the path of least resistance is a physical pathway that provides the least resistance to forward motion by a given object or entity among a set of alternative paths. Most of the cars that will be leaving this new subdivision will be going southwest. They'll be going to where the shopping is, to where the freeway is. This will determine their route for the rest of their days in the home that they are going to move into, and they are not likely to change that route once the additional roads have been built. In the memorandum of August 31st, from city staff Michael Cara to Jim Catarat, under transportation, it lists that the collector streets of this new subdivision will be Sunset Lane and Madison Avenue.
Ms. Hanson, your time has expired. Thank you. Anyone else care to address the council at this time? Anyone else? If there's no one else, I'll close the public hearing at this time and invite the council if they have any questions of staff and any further comments before we move forward. Mr. Circo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess this might be for Mr. Crass on infrastructure. I don't when we're going to run the Sunset Lane project north to 163rd. And that's going to be a main thoroughfare north, which this Madison Valley would adapt right into a main road, into the main road there coming up to 58. Is that correct? That's what we assume when we run Sunset North.
I'm not sure
Not on this particular project, but
no, I mean, but
it will eventually.
Yeah, eventually that project will lean over. That's what I'm thinking.
I don't think we have any existing plans for that, do we?
Oh, okay.
It's not in the GEO bond issue to cut it through 160.
I was wondering how that would work.
No. Mr. Crass, did you have something?
Yeah, yes, eventually Sunset will connect to 263rd Street.
Right.
In fact, we just had a reimbursement agreement in front of you for the development to the north of Hawkridge Park. We are currently under design for the segment from Compass Health to the north boundary of Hawkridge Park.
Okay. But not through 263rd Street yet?
Yes, sir. The reimbursement agreement
does go all the way to 163rd?
It does, and it makes, there's a small gap just east of the clubhouse on 163rd Street where Sunset comes to the north. So it will complete Sunset to 163rd Street, and then 163rd Street from that point will be complete to Fox Ridge Drive.
Okay. All right, thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Berenson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Would like to thank Ms. Hanson for her comments. I also live on a street that like yours, is temporarily dead-ended into an open field that's undeveloped. And I know that someday the street that I live on, like yours, is going to be developed. And believe me, nobody on my street wants this. But I know the landowner. I know he's developing other properties that he has, and maybe it'll be 20 years, maybe it'll be 20 weeks. I don't know, but that property someday will get developed. I would probably prefer this to be an R1 development. However, you know, if we don't allow this to happen now, a future city government, a future city council, you know, there's a lot that could happen with this property that could be much more populated than it is right now. So again, I want to thank you for your comments. I understand. I want to thank your neighbors for showing up tonight and lending support for your cause. But I think looking at this, you know, this development could be much worse than it is. And if we,
John, we don't have a motion yet.
Oh, you're right. We don't. Sorry.
So that might fall under discussion if that's what your intention is.
So I'll just thank you for your comments and leave it at that, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Anyone else have any questions of staff or the applicant? Yes, Mr. Townsend.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's probably a question for Mr. Cataract and the developer. The comments tonight from staff on how long or the last time that we've had a subdivision come in that was R1, and then as we see in the package tonight, the number of subdivisions that are of lot sizes similar or smaller than a R1.5. I've asked this question before in various other council sessions with similar rezoning requests coming forward, and I'll just ask it in a very elementary terms. What is driving that? Are we as a staff going out to Summit Homes saying, hey, build us in 300 1.5 lot sizes? Is it a market thing? You know, I've heard tonight in this session and other sessions where Creekmore and other communities are selling larger houses on larger lots at more expensive homes. What is, you know, as we're, me personally, trying to deliberate and weigh the concerns of the residents at the same time, the future of Raymore, what is driving that?
Being driven by the market. So land cost and infrastructure cost is what's driving it. So obviously to put down the public infrastructure serving lots that are larger in size increases the overall cost of the lot to develop. Even, you know, we talk about Creekmore, but look at Creekmore's standards. So there are many lots well below R1 standards in Creekmore. Yes, there are some above it, and there's some above in Madison Valley above the R1. So I think it's the mixture of the lot sizes that's the developers are looking for. So true, nobody has come in and asked for R1 zoning in that long period of time. You know, it's 14 years, 15 years. They're looking at coming in, and we were thrilled with the R15 when they came in because this is 60-foot wide lots and the 6,500 square foot size, which is more than what we've seen other developers coming forward with. So we felt this was a really good fit for this tract of land with R1 to the north and R1 a little bit to the south, and the larger lots in Wedgwood Place and the like. But the developers are looking to, you know, they still want a lot that is affordable for individuals to be able to reside in Raymore. So you look at what they can, you know, market the property for. That's why we're seeing the reduced lot sizes.
And if I may, Mr. Mayor, follow up 2 questions. A statement you made earlier in your reply, infrastructure also impacts. So us extending Sunset for the purpose of getting to the park enhance the opportunities for this particular rezoning is what I'm hearing.
It brought interest to the property. The property's been for sale for a long time. The same with the Madison Creek to the north. You're seeing both properties have quite a bit of interest now because a huge infrastructure cost to bring the roadway up there is being covered by the city, you know, through the GO bond and providing that good access to those undeveloped tracts.
And my last point, and I'll leave it at that, market rate. From this particular development and others that have come of similar sized lots, it's weird to hear $300,000 starting prices for houses here in Raymore, and the people that I see coming for council that I talk to when asking questions of their impressions of rezoning a property for particular single-family homes and the prices of those homes, who's going to buy them? My reply is, well, I have my home. I bought my home when I bought my home, when the market rate was at that rate, and now here we are in 2022 and the market is commanding this rate. And these homes here in this community and the other, I didn't count the full number of the smaller lots that were presented in the matrix tonight, but those are commanding $300,000 and up. So all those new homes coming into Raymore at that price point is providing opportunities for those who can afford them and providing opportunities for those in the community who are selling their existing homes that are giving them some comparable increases in their market, myself included. Should I want to sell, there's an opportunity there.
Again, Mr. Townsend, is there a question in there
There is no
somewhere, sir?
question. I
There is
appreciate
no
it, Mr. Mayor.
okay.
Thank you for that
Thank you.
correction. Thank you.
All right, appreciate it. I'm sorry, sir, the public hearing is closed at this time. Thank you. Nope, not unless there's a question by one of the folks up here. You do have a question, Mr. Barber?
Yeah, I have a question. Whether this is zoned R1 or R1.5, the whole plan for Park Street was to be connected into that neighborhood. I understand people live on that street. It is a dead-end street now. Have no traffic, but the plan has always been to connect Park Street, or there would have been a cul-de-sac at the end of that street. Am I correct in saying that?
That's correct, sir.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions? If not, the public hearing is closed, and I would entertain a motion to dispose of the first reading of Bill 3655.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend.
I move that we approve Bill 3655, Madison Valley rezoning R1 to R1.5.
Thank you. Is there a second? Mr. Barber.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, sir. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the first reading of Bill 3655. Now any further discussion or comment? Nothing else? If there's nothing else, I would ask for the roll call.
Councilmember Abdelgawad,
Yes.
Councilmember Barber,
Yes.
Councilmember Berenson,
Yes.
Councilmember Burke,
Yes.
Councilmember Circo,
Yes.
Councilmember Holman absent, Councilmember Townsend,
Yes.
and Councilmember Wills Scherzer.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. We'll now move on to item B, which is the Madison Valley Phase 2 preliminary plat. Could I please have the reading of Resolution 21-35?
The reading of Resolution 21-35 by title only, a resolution of the Raymore City Council approving the Madison Valley Phase 2 preliminary plat.
Thank you. I will open a public hearing on this, but we will be asking for a continuance due to the fact the zoning has not passed, but we'll go ahead and conduct the public hearing this evening, and I would ask for a staff report.
Thank you, sir. I'd like Mr. Carteret to make that staff report.
Thank you, sir. Resolution 2135 is asking for preliminary plat approval for Madison Valley Phase 2. This is a proposed 154-lot single-family subdivision. There's also 8 common area tracts on the property. Preliminary plat requires public hearing advertised for this evening. Need to enter into the record the notices to the property owners within 185 feet. Notice of publication in the Journal, our Unified Development Code, the application, our growth management plan, the staff report submitted to you this evening, the preliminary plat, the memorandum of understanding, and then a email with exhibits presented by Jerry Faulkner. The initial preliminary plat for Madison Valley was approved back in 2004. That initial plat contained 202 lots. The preliminary plat did expire in 2014. There was inactivity on the plat, and we did not renew an extension for that as a city. The first final plat of Madison Valley, approved back in 2005, contained 75 lots, and those have all been built upon. Again, the good neighbor meetings that were held covered the rezoning and the preliminary plat. Since it is a new preliminary plat, it did have to go before the Parks and Recreation Board for their consideration. On August 24th, they voted 5-0 to accept a fee in lieu payment for the required parkland dedication for this, principally based upon the proximity of Hawk Ridge Park. They felt having a small park here was not conducive and felt the fee in lieu was more appropriate. The fee in lieu payment would be made at the time the final plat is recorded. I note this plat was reviewed under the R1.5 zoning standards, so if that zoning did not approved or is not approved second reading, then the preliminary plat would have to be resubmitted. The property owner did recently purchase this property in April of this year. I identified again those R1.5 standards by which we reviewed the plat. We did submit the plat to the Raymore Peculiar School District, who's been aware of the proposed Madison Valley subdivision for some time, and we're aware of this plan. We also had South Metro Fire District review the plan. Their only comment on the subdivision is that they don't want to see the development occur on the west side of the creek without Sunset Lane being completed. The stream that crosses through this property is a first order stream, so it falls under our stream buffer ordinance, which requires a 50-foot buffer on both sides from the top of the bank of the stream. There's no designated floodplain on the property. There is an existing pond that needs to be researched. It does show up on the U.S. Fish and Wildlife National Wetlands Inventory, so they'll need to see if it is a regulated pond and if there's mitigation required. That process would be done as part of final plat review. There is existing sanitary sewer crossing through the property that would serve the development. Stormwater control will be managed with 4 stormwater detention areas on this property, and stormwater treatment is going to be required with those ponds. As was mentioned, Sunset Lane approved as a general obligation bond project. The applicant is required to dedicate to the city the necessary right-of-way for that project. I was talked about North Park Drive, part of the Wedgewood Place subdivision, platted in 1986, again always proposed to continue north. It is built to the very north property line without any cul-de-sac turnaround. So right now there's nowhere to turn around for school buses, trash trucks, snow plows, other than somebody's driveway being the turnaround. Mesa Ridge Drive, which is on the north side of this development in Madison Creek subdivision, similar scenario. It was platted in 2005, a road that goes to their south property line. Again, no cul-de-sac, no turnaround for vehicles there either. So both roads proposed to connect into Madison Valley. It was mentioned tonight, and one of the big topics at the Good Neighbor meeting was the concern of traffic utilizing Park Drive from this development. I think we need to look, as I pointed out, the Planning Commission throughout the city, road connections through subdivisions from one to another is everywhere within our city. We've had some very good recent examples. Bristol Drive was recently, we crossed the creek with that connection. That connected folks from the Brookside and Cantor Ridge subdivisions over to the Stonegate subdivision. Again, those people lived on dead-end roads on either side of that, and now we have the connection there, which is a significant roadway connection getting folks to Stonegate Elementary School. We have the same thing with Wiltshire. When you look at the Remington subdivisions in Creekmore, again, that was a dead-end roadway in Remington until Creekmore came along. We had them connect that roadway. Got a lot of folks from Creekmore using Wiltshire to get to Johnston Drive to get down to Price Chopper and those developments down there. So road connectivity and people from one subdivision passing in front of somebody's home in another subdivision is common throughout the entire city. Even Park Drive on the south side of 58 Highway connects multiple subdivisions for folks to get up to 58 Highway. I mean, we understand there's concerns with that. We acknowledge that, but that's good planning to have this road connectivity. And as Mr. Krass pointed out in the engineering memorandum, we have Sunset Lane. We have Heritage connecting to Sunset Lane to be a primary way for folks to get to 58 Highway where there's a traffic signal. So we feel good about the traffic plan and the road connectivity happening here. This subdivision does require subdivision adjacency. Again, the city passed subdivision adjacency back in 2007 when we have larger lots adjacent to a new subdivision coming in, and the lot sizes are smaller in the new subdivision, there has to be an adjacency requirement met. If you remember, Arbor Hill subdivision had that with the existing Southwood Estates, and they were very concerned, 5-acre lots, we don't want tiny lots next to our acreage. So the city adopted the adjacency standards, and the developer has met that. One of the options for the developer is to do a 25-foot berm, or 25-foot buffer with a berm to provide some visual barrier between the larger lots and the smaller lots in the new subdivision, so they have met that requirement. With the preliminary plat, we did prepare a memorandum of understanding. Again, it outlines the responsibilities of the developer in the subdivision. Planning Commission submitted proposed findings of fact, and it was at their September 7 meeting that they voted 7-0 to accept the findings and for the preliminary plat to the council with a recommendation of approval. They had 4 recommended conditions. The first one is that the request to reclassify the zoning to the R1.5 must be approved by council prior to final consideration of the preliminary plat. The second condition was to have Lemon Mint Drive at its intersection with Buffalo Drive. Right now in the plat that's before you, it goes all the way to the south property line. They recommended that there actually be an elbow there that it connect to Buffalo Drive. I believe what the thought was is that the lots that are adjacent to the larger lots to the south would actually be expanded, made a little bit wider by getting rid of that right-of-way. But in fact, that's not what was going to occur. The developer indicated that they were not going to change the lot sizes. They were going to increase the detention pond area. The third condition is that Heritage Drive is to be designated the construction road for the development. Again, didn't want to see any construction traffic using North Park Drive. In fact, we would have a barricade there until that phase of the development in Madison Valley is completed. And then they wanted to delay, and then the fourth condition, delay the connection of North Point Drive, as I indicated. The second condition, the Lemon Mint Drive at its intersection with Buffalo Drive, is the reasoning you see the email from the neighbor regarding the connectivity to the south. The initial Madison Valley preliminary plat had that road connection going to the south property line. This preliminary plat showed that. The commission, again, put that condition in to eliminate that connection. But then that would eliminate the possibility of that property owner to the south developing their property or someone in the future developing the property. And so staff would concur, at least on that aspect of it, that for 20 years the plan has been to have that road go to the south. We did, again, the memorandum from Public Works on the provision of adequate public facilities in the record as well, and that would conclude staff report.
Thank you, sir. Any questions of staff? If not, is this an opportunity for the applicant as well to step forward? Public hearing is open.
Robin Martinez on behalf of the applicant. Actually, the staff report stole a little bit of my thunder of what I was going to say. We wanted to be very sensitive once we heard residents' issues about the condition of North Park Drive, and so consequently, during the process of dialogue and discussion of the preliminary plat, we've gone ahead and agreed to delay construction of that connector and at the same time also make sure that the neighbors aren't burdened with construction traffic along that route. So that's, that's essentially a concession that we've made in terms of reconfiguring our development plans and the timing of it to make sure that we were trying to be as sensitive as we could to the needs of the neighbors.
Any questions of the applicant? Thank you, sir. As the public hearing is open at this time, I'd entertain anyone from the public who wishes to address the council. Please step forward. Keep your comments to 5 minutes or less, please.
Good evening. My legal name is William Faulkner. I go by Jerry. We live at 504 North Park Drive. Our house sits on the southeast corner of the 6-acre tract west of the other houses on North Park Drive, east of the Compass Health Building, and directly south of the proposed Madison Valley Phase 2. We're here tonight to request that the south end of Lemon Drive be left as shown on the preliminary plat to provide future access to our property. When we bought the 6 acres about 30 years ago, it had no street access. Consequently, we also bought Wedgewood Place Lot 12, which has served as our entry and part of our driveway. The Wedgewood Place Homeowners Association, which was active at the time, placed a restriction on the deed stating that Lot 12 could be used as an entrance to the 6 acres only as long as it accessed one single-family residence. It was always our intention to seek alternate access when the property to the north developed. On February 21st, 2001, we mailed a formal request to the city planner at the time, Kelly Lang, and the approved preliminary plat for Madison Valley dated September 2004 included the stub street to our north line. This 2004 plat was the starting point for the current proposed preliminary plat and the reason that Lemon Mint Drive was extended to their south line. At the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting on September 7th, during case 21022, after the public hearing on the preliminary plat was closed, a condition was added to the motion to approve that would remove the Lemon Mint Drive connection. We were never consulted on this, and since the public hearing was closed, we're not able to comment at that time. That's why we're here tonight. Without the connection, the 6 acres will likely never be further developed. It would seem to be in the best interest of the city to retain the Lemon Mint Drive connection to allow for possible future subdivision of the 6 acres. UDC Section 445.030 C1 A and B requires that subdivisions have streets to and from adjacent development and that subdivisions provide a completely interconnected hierarchy of streets to avoid isolation of residential areas. 470.110.C7A states that one of the findings of fact for preliminary plat approval is that it will not adversely affect the appropriate use of neighboring property. If you decide to approve the preliminary plat, please remove condition 2, leave the Lemon Mint Drive connection to our north line in place. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else care to address the council at this time?
Once again, Julie Hanson. Do you need my address again? 414 North Park Drive. So, as I was saying before, the Park Drive will become a collector for this subdivision. But that is not stated in the staff notes to Planning and Zoning. There is a problem with that because at where Park Drive intersects with 58 Highway, if you can imagine all these cars coming off and there is going to be no traffic signal there. We also impact the fire station, which is just kitty corner across the street. I propose that this is going to be a major safety issue to this city. We already are having trouble getting out on 5800, and I realize that. I've lived all over this world, and I know that there is no problem, with cities that grow, but it needs to be done responsibly. So I would challenge Mr. Cataract, who has said that there are many subdivisions in this city that connect through other subdivisions. I would challenge him to enumerate every single one of those and read into the records how many of those subdivisions there are versus how many subdivisions only empty onto a major collector. And I would really ask this council to require those kinds of numbers. It does not happen all over this city. There are a few instances of it, and I just do not buy that argument. Let's talk about the snow plows and the garbage trucks. Currently, obviously, we have snow plows and garbage trucks that come down our street, and they seem to have no difficulty as the street is currently constituted. School buses do not go down North Park Drive. They never would because we only have 20 houses. It's close enough for them to drop. They don't drop at every single house. They drop at the top of the street and the kids walk down the street. I would respectfully ask that the plans of this subdivision of Madison Valley Phase 2 be redesigned to make Buffalo Drive the southern east-west route and continue over the creek and empty onto a proper safety regulated collector of Sunset Avenue. Close off North Park Drive, keep it as it currently exists, save the value of our properties. We have lived here, those houses have paid city taxes for years, and we deserve to have the council act responsibly and to keep this street as it is. Send the traffic to a traffic signal where it will be much safer for all concerned. I would beg this council to act responsibly and mitigate the traffic flow that goes up and down North Park Drive and not damage our neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else care to address the council at this time?
My name is Charles Wilson. Address is 410 North Park Drive. My wife and I were actually the first people to design and build a home in Wedgwood Place that we moved into back when it was just a development with a couple of spec homes. That was back in '88. Frankly, we've always felt a little bit responsible for some of the growth that Raymore has had since then, because we were on the Parade of Homes that year and even had an article about our own place by itself at the Kansas City Star. I'm a little off balance right now because I'm hearing things that are being discussed differently than they were during the planning and zoning part of the phase. And I was more ready to address that. I have concerns about the traffic. I have concerns about the plan to, basically, they're going to condition people to use North Park Drive to get in and out, and then eventually they'll connect to Sunset Drive with its traffic light on 58 Highway. Oh joy. Anyway, what I was going to talk about had to do with the what I heard in the planning and zoning as a special restriction that they were going to put on it about limiting the access during construction. Now, I have some experience with special restrictions on property in the city of Raymore. There is a business within a quarter mile of where I am standing that has been in violation of a special restriction in its zoning for almost 30 years. I know this because I was sat as a member of the public in the city council meeting where their zoning was approved. I was the one who insisted that the restriction got put in, and nothing ever got done about it. I called the city numerous times over the next 4 or 5 years. Not enough to be a pest. I don't want to be, that kind of person. Enough to let them know that I was still here and I was still aware of it. Every single one of those times, so maybe once, twice a year, I'd call and I'd say, by the way, are they ever going to do what they said they'd do? Every single time that I called the city, I called the mayor's office, I called council people's offices, I called zoning, codes enforcement, whatever all that I could think of, different ones. Every single time I got the same response. Can you prove it was in their zoning? Can you prove it? Of course I couldn't. The paperwork was in City Hall somewhere. Well, they're still there. They're still in violation. They're still operating. So when I heard that they were going to put a special restriction on barricading the street so that construction trucks couldn't go up and down Park Drive to build their new development, I thought, yeah, I know how well that works. So I don't have any solution out of the blue for what to do about this. I'm virtually certain that you're going to wind up passing it. But I am not necessarily happy about the way this has gone. I would rather see larger homes go in. I would rather see some safeguards. I would rather see more access being directed to Sunset Drive with its traffic light on 58 Highway. But when I sat in the two good neighbor meetings, none of which were attended by the neighbor who owns the property, I heard a lot of suggestions made. I heard a lot of objections raised.
Sir, your time has expired.
May I conclude real quickly?
Very quickly.
Very quickly. I asked whether or not there would be any changes to the plan. I was told no. They either rubber stamp it like it is.
Thank you, sir.
Or that's it.
All right, we appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it.
Anyone else care to address the council at this time? If not, I'll close the public hearing at this time. And as I stated previously, this resolution needs to be carried over, so I would entertain a motion to continue this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Townsend.
I motion that we continue this item until to a meeting at such time that a decision is made on the preceding agenda item.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second? Mr. Barber.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, sir. Motion's been made and seconded to continue Resolution 21-35 till a future date when item A, the Madison Valley rezoning item, is decided upon. Is that close enough?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Any further discussion? If there is none, I'd ask for the roll call.
Councilmember Abdelgawad,
Yes.
Councilmember Barber,
Yes.
Councilmember Berenson,
Yes.
Councilmember Burke,
Yes.
Councilmember Circo,
Yes.
Councilmember Holman absent, Councilmember Townsend,
Yes.
Councilmember Wills Scherzer.
Yes.
Motion carries. It is continued to a future meeting. Could I please have the first reading? Oh, the next item is our sidewalk on undeveloped lots. And actually, this requires a public hearing. There's no particular item to be read on this subject. However, we will ask for a staff report. Mr. Icky.
I'd ask Mr. Carteret to give that staff report.
Thank you, sir. A quick overview, and then we'll go over the four properties that are under discussion this evening. Since 2014, annually we've done the Sidewalk on Undeveloped Lots program. And quick recap, in a developing subdivision, if 66% or more of the lots on a particular side of the street are developed with a home and sidewalk, then those lots that are undeveloped are required to install sidewalk. So January 1st of each year, we canvass through the entire city to see if any new lots are triggered by the requirement. In January of 2021, there were 7 lots identified that met the requirement. We sent notice out, giving that lot owner until August 1st to either install the sidewalk or secure a permit on the property. 3 of those lots did that. 2 of them installed sidewalk, and 1 of them secured a permit, leaving us the 4 undeveloped lots. The owners were again notified of the public hearing that would be held this evening, and the fact that the city staff would be asking council to make a decision on whether the city would install the sidewalk on the lot and levy a special assessment on the property. Built into the program is, in essence, a 1-year extension from the time that the council does make the decision to install sidewalk. City would not proceed to install that sidewalk until September 1 of 2022. So that's the 1-year extension that's built in. If they come in and install sidewalk or secure a permit, then obviously the city would not move forward to install the sidewalk. Again, the 4 properties we have, I'll start with the one in Ramblewood at Jeter Farm. It's lot 21. The property is 204 Ramblewood Drive. It's owned by Redbird Homes LLC, which is Chris Hotop. Mr. Hotop was the initial developer of the Ramblewood subdivision. He still owns 3 of the undeveloped lots. In the staff report, there's an aerial photograph. This is 1 lot on a block of probably 12 homes. It's the only lot without a sidewalk, and this is exactly why we have this program in place. So the residents that live along that street don't have to walk through the grass or out into the street to get to the sidewalk segment that's beyond the undeveloped lot. I've had discussions with Mr. Hotop. He's either planning on constructing a home himself or would install the sidewalk, understanding the 1 year built into the program, probably why he's not here this evening. Again, staff recommends that this be included in the program.
Sir? Any questions of staff? So on this particular item, there will be a, if this group approves of what Mr. Cataret is recommending this evening, a resolution would be prepared and posed to us at the next regularly scheduled meeting. So I guess I would entertain a motion at this time to move forward with this undeveloped sidewalk plan.
Can I say so moved?
Yeah, I guess so. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion been made and seconded to, I guess, trying to recouch it here, to direct staff to prepare a resolution.
To direct staff to prepare a resolution before the council on October 11th that would include the property that was just mentioned.
Thank you, sir. Any further discussion? Mr. Barber.
Just want to make a comment. This list has gotten small. I can remember when I first on the council, it was many pages and many minutes just to read off the addresses. So it's obviously working, and I notice these are all corporate owned. There are no individuals this time either. So,
anyone else? If not, could I please have the roll call?
Councilmember Abdelgawad?
Yes.
Councilmember Barber?
yes.
Councilmember Berenson?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Councilmember Circo?
Yes.
Councilmember Holman, absent. Councilmember Townsend?
Yes.
And Councilmember Wills Scherzer.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. Can I please have the first reading of Bill 3656 by title only?
Mr. Mayor, I apologize. We have the Alexander Creek item then. We have those 3 lots under that same agenda item for some.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know we were doing them individually. I apologize. Go ahead.
If I continue, the next 3 are all under the same ownership, so that'll simplify the process. We have Lot 53, Lot 51, and Lot 50 in Alexander Creek second plat. These lots are on Crestview Court. It's the only 3 undeveloped lots remaining within Alexander Creek second plat. Again, they're all under the same ownership, Gaha Fund 2 LLC. Bruce Kliege is the principal of that. I believe he purchased these lots for family members to build on in the future. I had discussions with him. I know he was securing bids to have the sidewalk installed. They're not in a position to build on the lots yet, but they understand the purpose of the requirement and do intend to have sidewalk installed. on all three of the lots. Again, he would have until September 1st of 2022 to do that. So staff would recommend that the council authorize the city to install the sidewalk on these properties.
Okay. So this motion would include those three properties. So the resolution, we will actually have two resolutions before us
Just
next
one
week?
resolution. We would combine all 4 lots if you support these 3 to be added.
All right. Do we need a motion for inclusion?
Just like the first one.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion. I'm not even going to try it at this time. Sorry, Reg.
No, that's fine, sir. Mr. Mayor, I motion that we direct staff to move forward with including the 4 properties listed in the agenda for this evening. Ramblewood at Jeter Farms, Lot 21, Alexander Creek, Second Plats, Lots 53, 51, and 50, to be brought forward at the October 11th regular city council meeting.
Okay. And I did forget about the public hearing on the first go-around, didn't I?
They can,
We can hold it at the end, because it's all going to be in one resolution anyway. All right. So since we do have the public, I will open the public hearing if we hadn't had it open already. Yeah, we have a motion, don't have a second. Yeah. Mr. Barber.
I'll second it.
Thank you, sir. Motion's been made and seconded. So, but the public hearing is open. Not seeing anybody from the public, unless Mr. Peterman wants to complain about the sidewalks. You good with it? Okay. Anyone else? Laura? Anybody? Okay. I'll go ahead and close the public hearing at this time, and I'd go ahead and ask for the roll call.
Councilmember Abdelgawad?
Yes.
Councilmember Barber?
Yes.
Councilmember Berenson?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Councilmember Circo?
Yes.
Councilmember Holman absent. Councilmember Townsend?
Yes.
Councilmember Wills Scherzer?
Yes.
So both continuances will roll over into a resolution to be brought before us on October the 11th. Right? 11th? Is it the 11th?
that is correct, sir, along with the motion to remove Mr. Cataret from ever appearing in front of the council again on any item that's a public hearing.
Well, we're getting close to getting rid of the sidewalks, hopefully. All right, so we'll now move on to the next item. Could I please have the first reading of Bill 3656 by title only?
The first reading of Bill 3656 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with Hahn Heating and Cooling for the Radiant Heating Project, City Project Number 21-383-107, for the amount of $42,450, and authorizing the city manager to approve change orders within established budget constraints.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a staff report?
Yes, sir. I'd like to ask Mr. Kras to make a brief staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Eakey, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. What's before you this evening is a contract with Hahn Heating and Cooling to remove the current natural gas unit heaters that are in the Public Works garage and replace that with a much more efficient radiant heating system. That concludes staff report.
Thank you, sir. Any questions of staff? I noticed you couched that to Mr. Kras to give a brief report. How come you didn't say that to Cataret? So I know, right? If there's no further questions, I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend.
I move that we approve the first reading of Bill 3656, award of contract Radiant Heating, Public Works Operations and Maintenance Garage.
Thank you. Is there a second? Mr. Barber.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, sir. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the first reading of Bill 3656. Any further discussion? Hearing none, could I have the roll call?
Councilmember Abdelgawad?
Yes.
Councilmember Barber?
Yes.
Councilmember Berenson?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Councilmember Circo?
Yes.
Councilmember Holman absent. Councilmember Townsend?
Yes.
Councilmember Wills Scherzer?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. Could I please have the first reading of Bill 3658 by title only?
The first reading of Bill 3658 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, approving the Alexander Creek Third Plat.
Thank you. Is there a staff report?
Yes, sir. I'd like Mr. Cataret to make a report for staff.
Oh, there you go. See, you didn't say brief. Okay, go ahead.
I guess this being my last staff report, I'm going to make it count. Alexander Creek Holdings has filed the final plat for Alexander Creek Third. It's a proposed 55 lots with 3 common area tracts in this final plat. The preliminary plat was approved back on March 8th, and as many of you may have seen, they have started site grading of the site and installation of public improvements. We do, under our code, allow the installation of improvements prior to a final plat being considered, as long as those construction plans are approved, and of course they were. So they have brought forward this final plat. Engineering Division did indicate that it meets all the standards of the city. They have provided the right-of-way that would be needed for the expansion of Ward Road. There's also a common area tract along Ward Road, similar to what they currently have, to provide for a nice buffer off of Ward Road. This is a fee in lieu final plat subdivision for parkland dedication. There are some public improvements or amenities that are being done as part of this final plat. There's a common area tract. They'll be providing a gazebo with water and electricity for the residents to have, and a nice common area tract with a small parking lot and sidewalk connectivity. The Planning and Zoning Commission on September 21st did vote 701 to accept the findings of fact and forward this final plat to the City Council with a recommendation of approval. The development agreement for the third plat is included for your consideration as well. That concludes staff report.
Thank you, sir. Any questions of staff? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend.
I move that we approve the first reading of Bill 3658, Alexander Creek Third Final Plat.
Thank you. Is there a second? Mr. Barber.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, sir. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the first reading of Bill 3658. Any further discussion? Hearing none, could I have the roll call?
Councilmember Abdelgawad? I'm sorry, can you please repeat? Councilmember Abdelgawad?
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Barber?
Yes.
Councilmember Berenson?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Councilmember Circo?
Yes.
Councilmember Holman, absent. Councilmember Townsend?
Yes.
And Councilmember Wills Scherzer?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. That concludes the new business. We'll now move on to public comments. If anyone from the public would like to address the council at this time, please step forward, state your name and address for the record, and try to keep your comments to 5 minutes or less. Seeing no one step forward, we'll move on to mayor-council communication. And Ms. Abdelgawad, would you like to go first this evening?
I'd be happy to. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just real quick, I want to thank everyone for your patience with the roll call vote tonight so that I could participate while I'm away. And then also I wanted to make a note that I did vote on the city council minutes from the last meeting despite my absence at that meeting. And just wanted to let everyone know that I did watch the meeting in real time, but I was ill, so I wasn't able to attend. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Berenson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate that. Being here tonight is kind of reminiscent of Catholic grade school for me. I feel like I'm over here in my timeout spot. So having some flashbacks, if you'll excuse me. Would like to thank all the staff members tonight for their reports, some great reports. One takeaway on the Madison Valley development tonight for me, reading in the notes here, and then there were some comments about it. I would urge city staff that we ask these developers when there are good neighbor meetings that they at least send a representative to those. And I would urge developers in the future to either attend those meetings or maybe send a representative. I think it would be nice to have representation there firsthand to answer questions. And is that common practice that nobody shows up for that, or?
They did have a representative, Mr. Ron, was at both Good Neighbor meetings. The Tony Ward, who is the actual
owner was not there. Then I misunderstood that then. So, then you can kind of strike that, and I'll stay in my timeout seat over here. That will conclude my comments, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Mr. Barber.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Want to just commend Nathan and his staff. Sounds like Parks and Rec is growing, participation is growing, and I think that's has to do with you and your staff and keeping our amenities in condition that people do want to come out here and participate. And I don't think COVID hurt us either. I mean, I think kids are wanting to get out and do stuff, and hopefully you can, we'll someday see the mayor's grandson playing at Ray-Pac High School or something.
That would
football,
be awesome.
Yeah. I do want to make a comment as far as the packet. Some of these drawings that are brought in there, could we get a magnifying glass sent? I had to bring this to my office and use a magnifying glass to read this, but quite detailed in a small amount. I'm not sure how, but it's once you magnify it, you can read it. And I do want to make a comment on Madison Valley. We had some people speak tonight in a very serious manner, and their neighborhoods are changing and transforming. And I know behind the scenes, in front of the scenes, staff is working on some resolutions that will help that whole, when that development does go in, there is some things working and some things that'll be probably presented in the first and second plat and final plat that will help those folks and mitigate some other issues. But, you know, like Mr. Berenson said, you know, if you've got a dead-end street and you're in the city limits and property owner owns the property, if you don't own the property on the other side of it, somebody at some point is probably going to develop somehow. But, you know, and one side of it is, you know, the changes are hard for some folks. On the other side, you know, it's just a feather in Raymor's cap that it wasn't too many meetings ago you were talking about how the inventory of lots was way, way down. And it seems like just, I know it's not overnight, but almost overnight that has changed. And I know some more is changing. So folks are wanting to invest here. Folks are wanting to live here. Yeah, if they didn't, they wouldn't be spending the money either way. So appreciate all the hard work of staff and really on the packet too. I don't give you too hard a time on it. I know there's a lot of work to put this packet together, and I do like the details that you give us. Thank you.
Mr. Townsend.
Mr. Mayor, I've overstated myself tonight, so I'm going to reserve my comments. I've said enough, so thank you for the opportunity, though.
Okay. Ms. Will Scherzer.
I wanted to say that I'm very thankful that Chief Zimmerman was able to get the active COVID list going again. I think that it is extremely important to protect the people that are protecting us. So I'm very glad that that is happening. Also, I think it is very creative and a beautiful idea that the painting is happening for Pam, and I think that that's a phenomenal way to honor her, and I believe that her family will really appreciate that. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Circo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I kind of want to comment out here when the people see what we're doing. The city works their due diligence over and over. The city's like a puzzle, and these are the fine pieces that we got to put together when we bring in rental properties, bring in homes. This city and this council work hard and do their due diligence all the time to make sure we're putting those right pieces in. Because if they don't fit, we won't put them in. This is a visionary city, a visionary bunch of you guys out there, Mr. Catarat, Mr. Fierboni, this council, they're visionaries for the next 20 years. We're looking to make this city grow and be prosperous into the future with businesses and for the people. We are always working hard to make sure everybody gets along because the people, the city, we are one. But sometimes people need to understand we go out in our ways to do so much as a council with a city. We don't take these things lightly. You do a lot of homework. You guys do a lot of hours and a lot of work. You just don't bring anyone in to build here. You do your job. So people understand we're putting these pieces of the puzzle into this big puzzle as we grow. It's very important. I want people to understand we're up here representing the people in the city in a very positive way. Thank you guys for all you do. Your visions are great. Our visions are with you. We understand that. We're here for the people also. But we're not going to just bring anything in. We're not going to bring anything into our city to build, because we got to make sure it's perfect, it's right for the city for the next 50 years. We're looking way ahead where we're going to be, and we're going to be there because of the city that we are. And we are growing. We got so many projects, the infrastructure, Mr. Crass. We got so many things going on. The GEO bond. People have to understand it takes time. We're getting there. But, you know, we brought in a lot of rental properties over the years because we knew that we had to look at rentals, not just homes, because that's what business wanted. That's what manufacturing wanted when we started building this manufacturing on the south side. And then all of a sudden, because we had that vision of different rentals, we're very diverse. People want to come here. They don't want to come in always to build a home and live here. They want to rent. They want to get used to Raymore, and then they might want to build. A lot of people want to rent, but they want diverse rent. They don't want just a townhome or a loft, and we got the watermark. They're all different, and everybody knows that. When we got Southern Glacier, I think we truly believe they come in here, and instead of renting, they bought the building because they want to make sure they planted their flag here because they knew where we were going. They knew they can bring in hundreds of people to work here, and they would have a place to live and to be diverse, where they want to buy a home or rent on a apartment, a loft. They will have that, and we will have that. I think that's what draws business. That will draw our commercial business and our retail here, because of how we look into the future, what we need to have way before any of our cities around us do it. And that's why they're coming here. That's why we landed that business, and they love it being here, and they bought it. There's a big reason to me. That's why, and there'll be more coming because of what we do as a city staff constantly. All of our visions of what we're going to build, we're not going to just throw anything in the mix. We're going to build it, we're going to do it right. And the whole council and this mayor, we work hard all the time with you guys. You know, the watermark, we went up on a Tuesday night, and we examined the one up north. We took our time. We wanted to make sure, what is this all about, like we do all the time. So I just want to reach out to the people watching. If you see this video, we're here for you. We're working here. We're not here to just throw anything in there, hurt anybody, or cause problems or division. We're here for the people and the growth of the city we know you need in the future. That's why we're elected, and that's why you guys are here, and we thank you very much for all you do.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Burke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to thank all the staff, whether your desk is behind a wheel or in an office, all the staff in the city. I appreciate all your work. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And so let's talk about Madison Valley a little bit longer. The condition 2 that Mr. Faulkner talked about tonight, I actually made the motion on that to make that change to the preliminary plat, but I was unaware of the letter, and as he said, he wasn't able to discuss that at the meeting because the public hearing was closed. But I had made the motion thinking that that would be best suited for all of the folks in that area. As it turned out, I didn't realize that there was a wish to have that stubbed there for future development. So I think we will be coming back with a recommendation for the removal of condition 2 as requested by Mr. Faulkner tonight. But I wanted to give you, in case I don't get a chance to verbalize that at the next meeting, I wanted to let the council know about that tonight. So I appreciate Mr. Faulkner bringing that to our attention. And I'd only been here a year and a half when that happened. That was February 21st, 2021 or 2001. So that's why I wasn't aware of that letter. I also want to thank staff tonight for everything that you guys do. We give you guys a hard time from time to time, but it's all in good fun because we respect where you guys, the recommendation that you bring to us, the thoughtfulness that's put into that. And I really appreciate Mr. Zur, his legal prowess, looking over these items to make sure that they fall in line with it, with what we're doing. And that's maybe when I kind of cut some folks off or move forward with things. I always look to him, and if he starts flinching over there, I've got to, I look, it says that the chair should be paying more attention to what's going on. So I try to do that. So please excuse me, I don't mean to admonish anyone. I just trying to bring it back under what we're allowed to do by law. Anyway, great night tonight. Got a lot done, and that's all I have. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Townsend.
I move that we adjourn from the regular city council session for September 27th.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second? Thank you, Mr. Barber.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Barber. The motion been made and seconded to adjourn. Could I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Abdelgawad?
Yes.
Councilmember Barber?
Yes.
Councilmember Berenson?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Councilmember Circo?
Yes.
Councilmember Holman absent. Councilmember Townsend?
Yes.
Councilmember Wills Scherzer?
Yes.
Motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you all.